G'day guys, my name is Michael and I am the Dead Aussie Gamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for running tabletop role-playing games. Today's video comes from you guys asking about how I handle character backgrounds. Now this question was very loaded and honestly I didn't want to make one video, so I didn't. I'm going to make two. This one is going to cover just how to make a character background as a player. And the next video will be about how to apply that background to your narrative as a GM. So, without any further ado, let's talk about how to make a character background. Firstly, well, why do we make one? A character for a player is your conduit to the game. They are so important, and the more developed they are, the more you will have to interact with the world around you, and the more people will have to tie into you. The world itself is not an isolated machine, and your game master is not dismissive of who you are in that realm or in that story. The more information you have in your character background not only shapes how you portray your character, but it also portrays how the world around this individual should exist and interact. Is your character evil? If so, why? What drives them to evil? What motivates them? If this is the case, maybe there's some other elements, people who are associated with your style of gameplay or your style of character morals. Whereas on the other side, maybe there are those who condemn it and seek out your character for their beliefs. All of these things are determined by your character background, but it's way more than just writing a short story. Now, I know that you guys have probably experienced players showing up at games, being really enthusiastic, and writing pages on backstory. Equally, there are people out there who come with just not even a character name and go, yeah, I'll call him Bill Smithy Jensen. Now, these characters are all fine, and as always, I am not an advocate of any kind of elitist type of gameplay, but I find that the strongest characters have short, succinct backgrounds that cover only 3 simple, basic questions. The first question: what is it that drives your character to wake up and be an adventurer? What is it that motivates them to get to tomorrow? This simple question is something that if you miss, your character has no reason to wake up. They have no reason to go out there and be an adventurer. I've had examples of player characters being made who wanted to play an NPC, basically. I want to be a merchant, and I just get swept up on this whirlwind adventure, and all I want to do is be a merchant. See, the catch with that, though, was as the earliest opportunity that the quest gave for a rest period or a break, or there wasn't any new information to lead them onto the next breadcrumb trail in the plot, that character had no interest. And it was well, I guess I could just go back home and continue working at the baker now that that's all sorted. And, the character missed out. Motivation is great because it allows your GM to connect with your character. If, for example, your character is motivated by money, it means that if he needs to drive you towards a certain goal in the narrative, he can use money to do so. If your character is searching for their long-lost sibling, then, again, rumors and mysterious letters, signs and portents might lead you on your journey forward. All of these things are answered by that simple question of what motivates your character. And your GMs will love you for having them. The second question that every character needs in their background is, why is your character invested in the story that you have agreed to join? Now, no game is within a vacuum, okay? You do not need to make characters who are oblivious to the story, right? You as a player are the one building the character. The character doesn't build themselves. So acknowledge, what game are you playing? Are you playing a high seas pirate adventure? Then, well, yeah, maybe playing a paladin who is out to stop pirates is not a great idea. Maybe you're playing in a Kingmaker game where you have to carve your land out of the wilds. So, playing something like a druid or a ranger might be a simple question of mechanics. But why is your character invested in your current quest? Why does your character want to carve a place in the landscape or go and become a pirate? These simple questions allow you the individual, you the player, to stay motivated at any given point. That simple question being answered basically means that you can get to a point in the story at any given time and you have an investment, you want the story to progress, you want your players, the other players, to invest in it with you. And if you're all driven in that same way, you will find that your teamwork, your communication, and your overall effectiveness as a group will just skyrocket. Okay? Which actually brings me then to the third and final question that every character background should address, which is, why are you invested in these people as a group? Why are you a part of a group? Now, I know that people say, well, you should play whoever you want to play and all of this stuff, and if you want to play a broody, edgy person who doesn't get along with anyone and doesn't take no guff from no one, then yeah, go ahead and play it. But the thing is at the core essence, tabletop role-playing is a team-based game, right? And if you've got one player who is out on their own, doing their own thing, that could be great as a character, but as a player, you kind of need to acknowledge that, well, it's a team game. You will never be out on your own, doing your own adventure by yourself while there are other people at the table. Every moment your GM is paying attention to someone individually away from the group is a period of time where three people are waiting unentertained, unengaged. So with that in mind, having an investment in your group, whether or not that's an investment as a rival, I want to go and achieve this because I know these guys are going to do it and they're going to get me to the finish line and then I'm going to hop over the edge and claim victory for myself. It might simply be, I love their morals and their codes and their beliefs. Maybe there's a charismatic leader in the group and that person is who your character is drawn to. Number of reasons, a whole bunch of different reasons, but having your character invested in the group and its success will make sure that at any given time, your character never loses that drive to stay with these people. They're never at a point where they do not care if they live or die because they have that investment. Even if this investment isn't a personal one, like let's just put money on the table, right? You have paid this group to escort you across this landscape. They're in peril. Okay, if they die now, I have to go through the rest of this journey unaccompanied. Yeah, okay, you know what? I am going to help these guys out because I don't want them to die because that means later on if something bigger happens, I'm probably going to die. This simple selfish means is still a connection as to why you're invested in the group. So, those three questions, again, going through them, are why is your character motivated to be an adventurer? Why are they out and doing things and all that? The second question, why is your character invested in the narrative your GM has laid out? So the story that your GM is telling, hopefully you know a little bit about it, and your character is somehow or another invested in carrying on the story. The third, why is your character invested in your group? Building up on your teamwork and making sure that you will always work as a cohesive unit trying to achieve the same goals. Now, again, you don't have to have the same morals. Everyone could have, motivations. Everyone could have different motivations. That's fine. You don't even have to have the same goals behind why you follow the narrative, or even the same reasons why you're a part of the group. If everyone has something different, the one thing they have in common is everyone will work together, everyone will be pushing the adventure forward, and everyone will have something for the GM to latch onto and create a unique, fun, and enjoyable experience for you guys to have at home. Alright guys, well that's pretty much all I have to say about character backgrounds, at least at this point. If you're looking at length or how to write your character backgrounds or where to get inspiration, there are a number of things you can do. Number one, don't go longer than, say, 2 paragraphs. I think it's kind of unfair to expect a GM to read a short story before allowing you to play a character. So don't do that. Second is make sure that your story contains enough to get you on your adventure. Acknowledge what level you are. If you are like level 1, don't write that you have gone after a red dragon and were scarred in battle after fighting this elder dragon with nothing but your fruit knife. You know, don't overstretch, right? If you're level 1, play it as level 1. You have only just come into your powers. You've just come into your abilities. If you start the game at level 10 or 15, yeah, sure, have some stuff. Yeah, I fought a dragon once. Yeah, I slew a band of orcs. Yeah, that's reasonable. Be reasonable with these sorts of things. The next thing, of course, is take inspiration from other sources. Don't just plagiarize it, okay? If you like characters like Spider-Man and stuff like that, sure, have a beloved character who inspired you to do more than simply live a life of a farmer. You know, have them die in a orc raid and then sort of be super sad because this person no longer is around, and dedicate your life to upholding his morals that he instilled on you, right? You know, hashtag Uncle Ben. Sad face. Yeah. Do stuff like that, but don't go so far as to say, oh yes, my Uncle Ben was gunned down in cold blood while he was at the merchant. I was out wrestling, you know. Don't just copy and paste it, right? Oh, and oh, for the love of God, do not name your characters the same name as whatever you inspire it to. I mean, yeah, if you're a brand new character, if you're a brand new player, right? You know, like bare minimum, be creative enough to come up with a name, right? It doesn't have to be a great name. It can be a very mundane name. Simon is not a bad name. Bill, Phil, Jeffrey, sure. They're not imaginative names, but they're acceptable. Don't start calling yourself, I will be Ganondorf, and I will be a dark-skinned, red-haired individual who punches things super hard. And I'm always after this small, mute child who seems to constantly get in my way. You know, don't do stuff like that. All right, and lastly, when you finish your character background, take a moment to acknowledge how much of that background is going to be discovered during your game, and how much of it is going to be developed as you play. Don't get locked into your character background. Don't get to that point where you're like, oh, this is my background and I will not change. Don't write your background to be your character in their perfect form. Because if they don't have anywhere to grow, if they don't have anywhere to be, well, that's half the fun gone, you know? Like, the journey of your character, the growth of this individual is where everything is at. So don't write your character background completed. You know, leave that open end, because the most interesting thing, the most amazing thing that happens to this character is the adventure they're about to go on. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you out in your various attempts at creating a character background. Do you have a character background to share? Leave a comment below. I'd love to see you guys and see what you guys have. If you want, I'll even, well, not criticize it, but I'll leave some feedback on the character backgrounds that are posted. Again, try to keep it to 2 paragraphs. And yeah, till that next time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Come check us out on all of our different stuff. We've got Facebook, we got Discord. If you want to join our Discord as well, we do that Dag's Character Corner thing that we're doing, which is going to be a lot of fun. So if you have monologues or characters you want me to embody, then yeah, that's a great place to do that. And of course, if you want to become one of our cheeky patrons of the art, then head on over to our Patreon account, and for as little as $1 a month, every little piece helps, you know. It is actually my intention to hopefully get to Gen Con this year, and if I do, I'd love to see some of you guys down there. So the more Patreons I have, the more likely this sort of thing happens. And of course, I'll be doing a GoFundMe sometime soon. All the details will be on Facebook, so be sure to check it out there. And till next time, guys, game hard or die trying.